All right. I think I got it working. I don't know what happened. I have no idea. I had to reboot the system and redo the camera. I don't even know what happened. Somebody must have messed with my. They probably knew this was very important. Like this doesn't normally happen. I normally don't ever have a problem like this, but here we go. So everything's hitting the fan, guys. That's really probably why this is not working. A lot to report today. Really, just my wife and I were sitting here looking at all the news, and we're thinking like we didn't even scratch the surface. I mean, there is so many bad things happening right now. It can only get worse. I mean, there's nothing else that is going to stop this. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? Like, did you ever see the movie V for Vendetta? At the end when he hits the domino and then all the dominoes start falling and it's just like this cascade of dominoes just goes out. There's no stopping what's happening right now. I'm just going to tell you right now. It is hitting the fan. Gaga. Seriously. So I'm glad I was able to get back on here because it was just, I have no idea. Crude oil is now at $116 a barrel. Can you believe that? I mean, it was only like less than $60 a few days ago. It's literally doubled. Crude oil has doubled in the last week, within the week. We're going to go through all the news, and I just pray for everybody. I pray that everybody prepares for what's coming because, I mean, this is what it looks like. It looks like they're getting ready for a draft. They said they're not putting out of the realm of possibility a draft. She was asked, I think at the press briefing this morning, whatever her name is, I forgot her name. She said, yeah, there's a possibility that could happen. It looks to me like they're sending paratroopers into the area and a whole bunch of them at that, getting ready for some kind of ground invasion. And oil facilities, energy facilities, everything, critical infrastructure is being attacked in a lot of the oil countries because those are obviously connected to the U.S. interest. And Iranians feel that that's what they need to do in order to hurt us, which is probably, if you're really the underdog like Iran, that's what you would do. You would hit soft targets like that and continually just, death by 1,000 cuts. And America needs 1,000 cuts to pull us down. And I think that's what they're doing. They're cutting off the strait, a war of attrition. Come on and get some of this. They're saying, come on in. The water's warm, America. Bring all your boys and your girls. And all the while, Russia and China is sitting back just watching, waiting for when we do pull the trigger, they're going to do their thing. They're going to move on their interests. I don't think they want to engage us directly. They'd rather have us occupied, and bogged down, in another Vietnam or another Afghanistan or Iraq or whatever. Iraq really wasn't a big bog down. It was just going in. See, what's happened is Iran has learned the lesson very well from our track record of dealing with countries like Libya, Iraq, the way we dealt with Saddam, Gaddafi, Venezuela, what we're doing to Cuba. I mean, Cuba is on the brink of complete starvation. They have nothing. Electricity is out, food is not coming in, gas is no longer there. We've pretty much embargoed the whole country and just shut it down, shut it off. And they're saying that's about to fall anytime. So you got people literally starving. And what do you do when you have no food and water? This is what they're doing when they're attacking these salination plants. They're basically cutting off the water to the whole of Iran. I mean, that's like that. The reason why they call it a human rights violation and a Geneva Convention violation is that you're basically harming civilians. I mean, if it's a war against militaries And government's fine, but when you go after civilians and you're harming and killing civilians, it's kind of like bombing a children's school. You don't do that. But it sure does look like that's what happened, because there's video of what looks like a tomahawk. Now, I've heard people say, well, they're hiding behind the children. They've got a base under there. That's what they said about Hamas. Well, the whole of Gaza was an underground base because the whole of Gaza has been completely leveled to the ground. And they're saying that I heard somebody in the comments telling me, oh, well, Robert, that, those kids that got killed there in Iran, well, there was a debate. They were using them as human shields, and that's what you get. Really? Seriously? I don't personally believe it. And this is very bad. The average person, the average Trump supporter right now is no longer and is having huge second thoughts, just like we expected. But this is the track record. People didn't scratch and sniff before they really voted. They really didn't look below the surface. All you had to do was look at his track record. 8 bankruptcies, says really nice things, puts a great image out there, does a lot of good marketing, and then doesn't have any substance to back it up, and then ultimately fails. But he plans for the failure because he's already got a workaround. He knows how to game the system. He knows how to game the system and then capitalize and then take another step on whoever's next. Who wants to come up and get involved in the next Trump business. 8 businesses bankrupt, and then he tells the world that he makes money. This is what he's doing to America. He's bankrupting America, telling you sweet little lies. Snake oil salesman, car salesman, and he's marketing everything on the way up. Just look at how many different things he's marketed. And then you want to believe that he's got your best interest in mind? Really? How many people has he stiffed with bankruptcy when you're talking about being a builder? You've got subcontractors and contractors that didn't get paid because he went bankrupt. Well, that's just the way it works. The system protects me. I can go ahead and move on. I keep my tower because, the Trump name is worth something. It's an asset. And whoever else was bailing him out, they say that it was the tribe that bailed him out the first time when he was down $1 billion in debt. The tribe came around because they had interest in the future of Trump. And maybe that's what we're paying for now, because this is what you get, America, when you don't listen and you believe the lie. You believe the Schofield lie. You believe the Darby lie. You don't know who actually inspired that stupid doctrine. And I'm talking to a bunch of evangelical Christians out there that are sitting there supporting the tribe, thinking that it's somehow God's will and God's blessed. They're somehow our overlords, even though they spit on the name, your holy, God and Savior. But you know how people wake up? This is how people wake up when everything's shut off. When you're sitting in the dark with no power and no food and no water, and then you realize who did this to us. That's how you're gonna wake up. But anyway, you can't say we didn't try to warn you. We've been warning you all along. All right, so let's get into the news here. I mean, there's so much stuff I haven't even seen. I'm just gonna go through it with you. Like, I've seen so much, but I'll be here all night talking about everything. I'm just gonna try to hit the topics, the top points here. Let me get my screen up here. All right. I have a feeling that the stock market's going to go down, but who knows with Trump and the plunge protection team and the image that he tries to put forward, it's always going to look good right up until the very minute that it's not. And when it's not, it's kind of like if you keep kicking the can down the road, you keep kicking it down the road, eventually it's all going to catch up. Images will fade to the reality. And if the reality's been hidden for too long, then the pain is that much greater. down the road because it got worse and you didn't know it. And now it's really bad. But anyways, the stock markets all around the world are being affected by what we've initiated. We basically just lit the fuse to blow up the whole global economy. That's why they were hailing him with the powers that be at the World Economic Forum. They're hailing Trump as the new global leader in the new world order of Trump because they know what he's going to do. They knew what he was going to do. We knew what he was going to do. If I knew what he was going to do, you don't think that there were other people in the world that had great interest that knew what he was going to do? How did we know what he was going to do? We're just nobodies. Well, we see things through not just geopolitics and armchair analysts that have, open source intel, but we also have prophetic insights and an intuition that comes from the Most High. Spiritual insights, right? How did we predict all the stuff that went on before it hit in COVID? How did we predict all that? How did we predict what he was going to do? I mean, literally, if people follow back to our channel, and we didn't have as many people watching back then as we do now, but we were telling people he's going to betray Israel, and then a few days later he betrays Israel. How did we know that? And then I said right after that, well, now that he did this, now MAGA's going to be betrayed, and then the headlines were MAGA was betrayed. And it's just been like that all along. I mean, October 7th, we predicted that a week before it happened. You could go back on Rumble and look September 28th video and see I said, and it wasn't because of any geopolitics. It wasn't because I had any intel from natural sources. It was right there in Revelation chapter 12 and the sign of the wise man what was it called? The green comet they called the wise man child, going through Revelation 12 constellation. It was literally lined up with what Revelation 12 said. Not to mention all the other coinciding signs that we saw. And I basically went on and told you guys it's boding bad. It's going to be chaos and war in Israel. That's what I said. September 28th. You can go back and see it. Well, those are just some of the highlights. I mean, there's a whole list of things. I could go back and I'm not going to because it'll take me a long time over the last 5 years. All the things that we told you were coming before it happened. A lot of people don't listen though, and they don't have the context or the understanding of the background of what we're saying to even see it half the time anyway. But those of you that have been on the same page the whole time have seen it. And that's all that really, is going to matter in terms of testimony to the people that haven't been here. They're going to just take your word for it because you've been here. So the Dow Jones futures are down 1,100 points right now. 1,100 points. Dow Jones futures. So on the opening market tomorrow, I've been telling people you better be careful with money in the bank because there could be a bank holiday. There could be a catastrophe that we're not even anticipating that's going to shut everything off. Okay, whether it's your electricity, whether it's your stock market, whether it's your critical infrastructure and or a massive hack, which it seems from all the different things that have been happening, whether it was the phone system, AT&T and all the phone outages for a period of time, or critical infrastructure, they're messing with stuff. They're preparing. They're beta testing. They're getting ready for something big. And they've been doing this for a little bit now. And it looks like it's getting ready to pull the trigger. This could be the real world scenario. Just like 9/11, they were flying sorties in simulation on the morning of 9/11, following planes that had been commandeered by terrorists as a simulation. Tell me that's not coincidental. Because the pilots that were in the air that were following these simulated attacks couldn't believe that it was actually real world. They were like, is this real world? Are you kidding me? I thought we were doing a simulation. No, it's real world. It's actually happening right now. Planes are being directed into the World Trade Center. Okay, so all of these different things that have been happening are actually in preparation for the real deal. And I think the real deal may, in fact, they always say drills are preceding they precede. Make sure I got who that was. David Craig, God bless. Thank you, brother. Always a blessing to have you watching, brother, and supporting what we do. And by the way, thank you guys for support. The support is coming in, and we pray that we keep the momentum up, because we got lots of momentum and lots of ground to take. Okay? We got lots of ground to take, and we need your help to get all that information out there. And the time that it takes, just everything that goes into getting it out. There's so much. I can't even begin to tell you. Let's see. I'm just going to go through the stuff now. Let's just go through it. So this is what's going on with the Nikkei, and this is Japan. Japan stocks are getting obliterated right now. They're already open. World is now experiencing its largest oil supply shock in history, losing nearly 20 million barrels of oil per day. Top oil shocks are Hormuz closure. That's 20 million a day. The Iran revolution. These are the top shocks in history, I guess you should say. This is the one that is happening now. And there's other factors that are going to be making that even worse or exacerbating it. I mean, whether it's Venezuela, we supposedly took over Venezuela, but I don't think we could just go in there and start pumping oil and giving it to ourselves. At least not yet. That's going to take a little while. But the Iran Revolution in 1978, that was a big shock. Remember that? How many of you guys were, and I was a kid, I don't even remember, but I remember after the fact, everybody talking about it. You know, I kind of remember a little, it was very hazy because I was young, but there were lines of a mile long, people waiting for gas, and they couldn't even get gas at certain points. And that was when, guess what? There was an Israeli war going on. It was an embargo because of what Israel was doing. And so we were affected by what Israel was doing? Yep. Is it happening again? Yeah, same thing. Yeah, it was the 73 Yom Kippur War, I think it was, and all the Arab states basically embargoed the West. So that was the Yom Kippur War in 73. I'm sorry, that was right there, 4.5 million barrel shortage. Okay, the Iran Revolutionary War, that was in 78, and I think that's when the Shah of Iran was deposed or was ousted, right, or went into exile. The Iraq War in 1990, that was when they were burning all the oil fields. Remember, they set them all on fire, scorched earth on the way out. All the Kuwaiti oil fields were on fire. The Iran-Iraq War in 1980, and that's when they were just bombing each other into oblivion. And then the Russian-Ukraine war in 2020 or 2022, that's only 2 million barrels of oil. But look at what's going on now, 20 million barrels of oil a day. And back here, during the 73 war with Yom Kippur, that's only 4.5 million barrels a day, and we had gas guzzling cars back then. Remember, everything was guzzling gas. Every single car you had was a big iron boat that had a massive engine in it. Muscle car, right? Muscle car. I mean, the rhetoric and all the talk and all the buzz is people are panicking. People are panicking all over the world. And I don't think it's hit America yet. And it's good that it hasn't, because you better get yourself out there and get what you need. We were telling you this like at least a couple weeks now. We're getting ready. But now people still haven't woken up to how bad it's going to be yet. They're going to see it, though, here real soon. And when they do, there's going to be runs on the store, on gas, whatever else is left. And I don't know. It could get really bad, guys. And they're planning on sending in troops. Now, I know we have an oil reserve, what they call a strategic oil reserve. And we have the second largest in the world. I think China has the first. The third largest strategic oil reserve is Japan. They are very close to us, though, when they talk, because they encourage civilian stockpiling of oil and gas. But the government itself, I think, has 168 billion barrels, I think, stockpiled. And then there's other, I think Saudi Arabia and the UAE, they also stockpile oil in Japan. They don't want to be stuck without anything on that island, right? It's very similar to what happened in World War II when we embargoed their island. And that's why they attacked us, because they were basically, it's kind of like what Cuba's going through right now, except they don't have a strong military to respond to us or anything, to attack us the way Japan did. But what's happening is their whole strategic oil reserve is a little over 400 million barrels of oil. 400 million barrels of oil. And they have a lot of places to store it inside of Japan. And they're literally kind of on par with what we have. They're close to being second, Japan. I don't know if Trump refilled. I'm sure he probably did, but who knows? Did Trump refill the strategic oil reserves that Biden had depleted and drained to try to make his numbers look better? That would be someone. Thank you, someone, whoever that is. I thank you, Robert. Thank you. I don't know who you are, but thank you, someone. I need to put that back on my other page here so that when everybody does it, they can see it here. I have to go over here. Oh, you know what? I need to move it up. That's probably what I need. Okay, there we go. All right. I got it up there so you guys can see it. So then it says, someone says, we're cooked 50 minutes ago. When oil runs out, when oil runs on war, nobody wins. Ask anyone who lived through 1973, 2008, or 1929. Well, that's nice. That's a nice thought. The scariest part is even the $20 million or the 20 million barrels a day figure. That's pretty scary. That is pretty scary because, I mean, look at all the crises that happened just with 5 billion barrels a day, or 5 million, I should say million. What am I saying? Billion. I mean, we're up to 20 million shortfall a day, as opposed to all these other crises that took place in history that was under 5. Now, I know there's a lot more people on the planet, and maybe there's a higher volume of oil now that's flowing. I don't know. I keep hearing about that. What do they call it? The oil, peak oil, that there's only a certain amount of oil on the planet that eventually it's going to start to diminish, and we're not going to have as much. But I'm sure there's a lot of untapped oil sources, and then they say there's a whole bunch up there in Alaska, and we've still got a bunch that we haven't really tapped here on our coast and everywhere else. But have they done that yet? Are they preparing for that? I don't know. Let's see what they're saying here. I'm kind of curious.
July 11th of that year, there was another important first. The price of oil hit 100.
All right, they got music in the background, and I don't know if I can play that. It's going to end up giving me a... I kind of want to hear this, though. Let's go ahead and just listen to it. I think we need to kind of listen to this. It's got that bang bang music in the background. Everything's going to go... Okay, so let's listen to see what they said.
July 11th of that year, there was another important first. The price of oil hit $147 a barrel, the highest price the world has ever seen.
When oil began to go over about $80 a barrel in 2007, we saw something very interesting happening. All the other prices for all the other goods and services started to go up.
Most of the people who follow the price of oil for a living say it's headed for $100 a barrel, and quickly, as early as tomorrow.
When oil hit about $122, $123 a barrel, in early 2008, we had food riots, you recall, in 22 countries. When oil hit $147 a barrel in July of 2008, all the prices across the supply chain for everything we buy went through the roof. And in that month, July 2008, purchasing power shut down all over the world.
It seems that everything is costing more.
Food costs expected to rise 4% this year.
Just 60 days after oil hit $147 a barrel, for the first time in history, the stock market fell a record 777 points in a single day.
The worst day on Wall Street.
The market fell as if down a well.
We're down over 16%.
Because we're now down 43%.
The Dow traders are standing there watching in amazement, and I don't blame them.
And that was the economic earthquake. The collapse of the financial markets 60 days later, that was the aftershock. And so every time we tried to regrow the global economy at the same rate we were growing before July 2008, oil prices will go up, all the other prices for everything we buy will go up, and it'll shut down over and over again.
Every time the price of oil goes up, a few months later, unemployment soars.
So we have this catch-22. When the oil price is low, that stimulates economic activity, that creates more demand for oil. As demand increases, price of oil goes up, and the next thing you know, we have a financial crisis, and we start the cycle again.
Every 4 or 5 years, we're in these cycles of growth, slowdown, growth, slowdown. That's the end game.
Yeah. Well, guys, this is where I think we're at. And the best thing you can do is prepare. Because, see, the thing that I think is coming this time, and this was my analysis and what I believe I am kind of getting from what's coming. And I shared this with someone that I think, and let's see if I can put it in the words the way I don't want to give away my source on this though, or not the source, but who I said it to. I basically told them that in 2020 we saw the supply chain cut off, and there was profit to be made. This time, supply chain cut off. No profit to be made. Your put options, whatever you're going to do to try to gain, try to make a profit off of what's coming. The only thing that's going to profit you is if you've prepared. It's kind of like the banking. See, everything came back. 2008, 2020. It could have gone over the edge, but this time I think it's going over the edge. That's what I think is coming. So you need to prepare like there's no tomorrow. And I say prepare because if there is no tomorrow, what's the use of preparing, right? You ask yourself that. Well, that's where you get spiritual. And yeah, you can have things leading up to those points, because if it is literal societal collapse or a nation, a national and a empire collapse, which is what I think is happening with the dollar. The dollar is dying. Why do you think they just switched everything over into crypto? Trump, the Bitcoin president, right? We're going to be the world reserve currency of the whole globe with our new Bitcoin, right? You really think that's going to, really seriously? Any little hack and you're not going to be able to get no money. Everything's dependent on whether or not everything is running, right? With AI systems and databases and computer networks and satellite. What happens if some of that is taken out? A nice big CME from God could shut everything off. And then what would you do? Do you know how to make things? Do you know how to grow things? I mean, even then, look at what's going on in Iran right now with all the burning oil fields. They're literally raining down oil. Oil is raining from the sky. It looks like some kind of hellscape, dystopian, end time, apocalyptic. Everything is oily. Oil is just literally coming down the walls. The rain is oil. What do you do when it rains oil? You don't do anything. You just get ready to die. I know that sounds pretty pessimistic, but I mean, in reality, it's a prelude to what's to come. And if you're right, it's a good thing. And if you're wrong, it's a bad thing. Just telling you, you better get it right. And this is why we talk about spiritual things on here all the day, all the night. You know, like I keep thinking like Titanic. You know, Titanic's sinking and people are running around hoping that it's not going to sink, but it's getting to the point where they know it's going to sink now because everything is cracking in half and breaking and everybody's running to the back, right? And so at a certain point, you start looking at that dude on the back end of the ship who's talking about a new heavens and a new earth. The old earth is passing away, and everybody's holding on to the preacher because they don't know what's coming next. Well, you know what's coming next. You're going to be in the water. Did you get a life raft? Did you prepare? Anyways, repentance. We all need to have a repentant heart. If you're not right with God, get right now. And there's no time. There's no time for messing around. I mean, like I was telling you the other day, deathbed confession, thief on the cross, God may have mercy on your soul, but why wait till the very last minute, This is it, though. And no, we haven't been raptured out of here to fly away. I like that way that dude said that. But he ended up getting his channel banned. I think he was mocking too much. And he was kind of a little bit antagonistic. He needed to chill out a little bit and really have some fear of the Lord. But, to really fear the Lord, you're going to understand the severity of the moment and the times that you're in. And you're going to try to warn people and get them right. I'm not capitalizing on anything that's happening here. I realize the sober nature of this moment. It's very bad. There's nobody going to be happy that this comes to an end. It's like, I'm not going to be saying, see, I told you so. Why would I have to say it? Why would I even want to say that? All I know is judgments in the Bible many times are a part of the deliverance of the people of God. And so in that, I am kind of looking at it as because I do see the evil in the world and how it's just, it can only go on for so long before God does something about it. God's not going to let it continue. Otherwise, he would have to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Okay, so he's not going to apologize to Sodom and Gomorrah because it's equal opportunity with God. Everybody is going to have what they deserve. Everybody's going to be paid back for the deeds that were done, whether it's individually or nationally. They're going to have to pay the price at a certain point. All of your incantations and all of your appealing to your gods and all of your AI and everything else that you think is going to save you is not going to save you. When God says it's done, it's over. Nothing's going to stop it. He knows his time is short. He's filled with great epic fury, urgency, epic fury, great wrath. This is where we're at. All right, so let's get into some of the more news here. Otherwise, I'll just keep on preaching. Panic buying in the UAE. Water and food is running out. They're depleting the stores. There's all kinds of videos now. Not only in UAE, it's happening in a lot of different places. It's happening in a lot of different places. I've been looking at a lot of different locations right now. Also, panic buying of oil and gas. This one says, do you understand what Amazon just did? Amazon made their 2,847 engineers spend 8 months documenting every code pattern, every debugging workflow, every optimization trick, then fed it all to AI, then fired them. That sounds like what they're doing to all of us. They're like, get up there. This is what they did with Bitcoin. See, this was what Bitcoin was all about. They gave a bunch of people a lot of money to help build the infrastructure and be the evangelists of AI. Like people like what's that guy named Green? What's his name on YouTube? The Bitcoin millionaires, right? They made a bunch of Bitcoin millionaires. And then it's kind of like slot machines. When you go to the casino, you see somebody winning and you want to put money in. Oh my gosh, they're winning. Look at how much they're winning. Maybe I'm going to win. Everybody's putting their money in because they're thieves. Somebody over there won. Oh, somebody over there won. But most everybody's going to lose. Everybody's going to lose. Well, you got your Bitcoin evangelists out there telling you to get into Bitcoin and to help build the system by mining and whatever else. You might make money for a little while. And then that's it. You build the infrastructure, and then what do? They flush you out. They're just going to flush everybody out. They're going to use the whole infrastructure that was built as an AI prison, digital monetary prison system. You're all going to have to participate in a regulated coin that government is now using on the blockchain because you helped build it. You built your own prison. You built the digital prison you're now in, right? So they fed it to AI, then they fired them. They didn't just replace their workers. They made their workers build their own replacements first. Yeah, see, the same thing. I haven't even read this. This is exactly what they did with Bitcoin. And packaged themselves for deletion. That's exactly what they did. One senior engineer said, I literally trained the AI that made me redundant. Right, you're no longer essential. You're no longer an essential worker. Like I always say that Schindler's List, the dude with the one arm, AI has 2 arms, 2 legs, and it works 24/7 without sick leave, without vacation pay, without insurance, and it's always perfect in everything that it does. You're not. You have one less arm, right? Remember Schindler's List? The dude had one arm, and the Nazis came up to him and said, oh, so you're an essential worker. Yes, I'm an essential worker. Oh, you are, huh? And they kind of laugh, and they take him over to the side, and they pull out a gun and shoot him in the head. That's the kind of a worker you are. You're essential. No, you're actually redundant. AI is going to take over everything. Every job. Every single job they said in 4 years will be gone. You don't think you're living in dystopian days in the end times still? Okay, well, I'm hoping to wake you up. If you still think you're living, and there's some way to come back from all this, well, hopefully you really see what's going on here. So if you're writing internal docs right now, stop and ask yourself one question. Who is this actually for? This is what most people do when they realize what they're doing. This is what they look out into space and said, what did I just do? I just trained someone to take my job, my life. Amazon Prime Video bloodbath. Your role has been eliminated effectively, immediately. All right, let's see what else we got here. This is Korean stocks that trigger circuit breaker. So they actually had to turn on the circuit breaker because they have a system built now where the computers now stop it before it crashes completely. And the built-in circuit breakers went off, so that's it. 8%, that's when usually they pop on. They pop, right? The circuit breaker pops. You got a big old surge, and bam, all the lights go out. It's better than everything catching on fire, right? All lights go out is better than catching on fire. So circuit breaker is off. Like I said, let's see if I still have... Shoot, I don't have my picture. I only have my ShamWow picture. Hold on, let me see if I can put my picture up there. This is the circuit breaker here. Watch. Let me just put it up here. I got to switch out my picture here. Where did that picture go? Hold on, I have it. I know I made it. I saved it. Hold on. What did I do with it? Oh, see, I didn't have it ready. I'm sorry. I could have swore I had it right here. See, this is what happened when you don't have it all set up. Oh, well. It was a good picture. It was that meme of everything on fire and Trump saying it's a golden age and our economy is on fire. Our economy is on fire. Oh, you know why? Because I'm in the wrong page. Stupid me. Okay, now I'll find it. Hold on. Okay. Am I in the downloads? This one right here. I was trying to get that so fast. It's a golden age, our economy. How many of you guys have seen that meme? Isn't that amazing? I love this meme. It's like the average person like sitting there, the whole place is on fire. Now I added the dancing Trump. And I made this meme myself. Not the main meme. The main meme is always just, everybody uses the main meme. And they just add their own words, right? But I put the dancing Trump in there and, him saying it's a golden age. Yeah, golden fire everywhere. Our economy, it's on fire, man. It's on fire. Kind of like my shirt. It's a golden age. This is why I got this on tonight. Because it's golden. All right, so let's see what else we got here. And so the whole economy is falling apart right before our very eyes. All right, so let's see if I've got a bunch of stuff to share here. This one here says, okay, so Ice Age Farmer. How many of you guys know who our Ice Age Farmer is? His name is Christian. He was kind of censored there for a little bit. He's saying here on Telegram, he said cyber attacks are now hitting the food supply chain. Less than 24 hours after my warning about vulnerabilities in the U.S. food distribution and production, Quilin ransomware, it's Quilin ransomware, has hit Brothers Produce, Texas's largest fresh produce distributor supplying restaurants, schools, and military bases. Iranian hacker group Handala declares a large-scale cyber attacks are incoming and has already infiltrated a U.S. bank and airport. UK experts rank cyber the #1 acute trigger for food system collapse. The food supply chain, and this has everything to do with everything that you eat. And this is why we're promoting the vegetables. You can make your own vegetables, a Victory Garden, right in your own house. You don't even have to have, you can actually supply yourself. If you had a 10-pound bag of broccoli seeds, it would last you a year. Maybe for 2 people, maybe even more. Every couple days, you make a little crop right there in your house. It takes about, well, you get the real good nutrients. It takes about 7 to 10 days. If you have a rotation of trays, you just keep those things rotating throughout the week. All your vitamins, nutrients, all the power of a full-grown, broccoli, 10 to 100 times more nutrient dense with all the phytonutrients. You can only find it in the microgreen. This is why it's so important to get microgreens. Because if you can't get vegetables, you don't want to eat toxic, pesticide-laden, chemical, forever chemicals on your vegetables, then make your own. Learn how to hunt and fish. Get out there and find a clean lake. Get out of Dodge. Start your little grow kits and start learning how to sustain and be self-sustaining. Amen. This is so important. So he's saying here, they're attacking the banks, the airports, food systems. These are all computer-based. So how best, the Iranians are expert hackers. What happens if they decide, hey, another way we can get them is they're hitting our desalination tents I can't remember the name now. centers where they make the water from, from salt water into fresh water. Desalination. That desalination. And they're hit, and the U.S. is bombing them. So why not? Let's go after their critical infrastructure. Let's take out their food. Let's take out their banking. Let's collapse their whole system and see how their people like it when there's nothing going on. And I'm going to tell you what, there's a possibility they could do that. All right. There's a very good possibility. They say that the Iranian hackers are right up there. Top level notch hackers. They've had 2,500 year society. We've only had 250. So, they're like 10 times longer civilization than the U.S. So you might want to think, well, they might be smart people. Even though we think they're backwards, they might be thanking Allah that we underestimate them. Because that's actually an advantage when you underestimate your adversary, when they knock you upside the head. So it says here, Jordan claims Iranian hackers attacked their national wheat silos. Jordanian claims Iranian hackers attacked their national wheat silos. This is a full report. UK experts rank the #1 acute trigger for food system collapse on cyber attacks. Your food has been blocked. Cyber ransomware. Sorry, you're not able to get your food now. Let's see what else we got here. Let's go over to the Telegram page. Actually, you know what I want to do is I want to go over here to I'm going to put this on the screen here. Hold on. We got a lot of important updates here from blazingpress.com. If you haven't seen what's going on over there, you're not keeping up on the news there, you might want to check out and become familiar with blazingpress.com. All right. Why am I stuck here? Okay, so my system is stuck. Great. Can you guys still hear me out there? Everything froze. Come on. Hold on. Oh no. Am I getting hacked or what? Can you guys hear me out there? I didn't lose it. Did I lose it? Am I still here? Am I back on? Hello? It says I'm still on, I think. Okay, I think I'm on. Am I still on? Okay, good. Am I back on? All right, so yeah, I'm back. Okay, so as long as you don't let it go too long and you restart it, it'll usually pick back up the same stream feed. So thank God I didn't lose you. Yeah, my systems froze and I had to restart OBS. So what happened is I had a file corruption or something. I don't know what happened there, but anyways, I'm back. Okay. All right, thank you. Let's get over to our page that we were going to look at here. This is preparation for paratroopers going into Iran. Is there going to be a draft? There's a lot of talk about a draft and paratroopers in preparation for something going down in the Middle East. Hal Turner also talked about this before it actually, kind of looked like it was coming out of the mainstream. So it says the U.S. Army has canceled a major headquarters training exercise for the 82nd Airborne Division, keeping the unit's command element at Fort Liberty as tensions with Iran continue. This is ArmyRecognition.com. The decision preserves the Pentagon's fastest joint forcible entry capability, a force designed to deploy within hours if Washington needs to secure airfields, embassies, or evacuation corridors. So they're preparing for something. They basically stopped everything that they're doing, the 82nd Airborne, and they're getting them ready for some kind of action. This is what's going on. Thank you, El Jedi. Thank you. Appreciate that. God bless. Thank you for the blessings. Appreciate that. Dubai. This is what does this say here? It says Dubai has only 10 days of fresh food as war disrupts global trade, warns logistics CEO. This was just posted 2 days ago. Obviously, there's a whole lot of worry right now in the Gulf states because everything, 80 to 90% of their food transits through the Gulf of the Strait of Hormuz, right? Right through the Strait of Hormuz. And if it keeps being shut down, we're going to have emergency, food drops from C-17s. Is America going to go in there and try to help them and save them? Because they're wondering why America's not protecting them right now from all these attacks from Iran. They're wondering why we're protecting Israel and putting them as a priority. So they're very upset right now about what's happening. In fact, they've pulled back all the promised investments that they gave to Trump, all those, $1 trillion+ in investments. No sound? What the heck? You guys can't hear me. Can you guys hear me out there? My wife just said no sound. She's probably behind us she's behind. I think you're behind. You guys can hear me out there, right? She's saying that she can't hear me. Oh, they don't match? Okay. So you have to restart your system if you can't. Somebody says my voice. I think you're behind. Let me see. You guys can hear me. Yeah, it's matching. It's okay. It's all good. If you can't hear me, you just need to reboot or something if it's too slow. Okay, and now let's see. So they only have 10 days of food. And it's not just Dubai. It's all the UAE, Doha, Saudi Arabia. I mean, these countries are dependent on that strait being opened. And they're our allies. They are vital to what's going on in America. And so the Iranians know exactly what to do. Now, they're saying that these countries are now going to potentially go to... See, this is where it's turning into World War. Trump knew this was going. I'm telling you, the devil knows exactly how to stir the whole world up. And this was the linchpin. We knew this was what they were doing, was they were going to explode the whole world into chaos because the Epstein files came out. Obviously, big egos don't want to look wrong. They'd rather have the whole world go into chaos to try to save their face. But that's what pride does, really, especially when you got pride that large and you got a lot to hide. You got a lot to hide. You're gonna just implode the whole world. It's kind of like scorched earth policy. Hey, you're gonna try to take me out. I want to take the whole world down. Let's just go. Might as well. You're not gonna stop. Okay. Well, then I'm gonna just light the whole world on fire. Know how to do it. I know how to do it. I've done it before. This is gonna be the biggest it's ever seen. Never seen anything like this before. Have you ever seen anything like this before? No, you haven't. Nope. We knew this was coming. This is a warning from Edward Snowden. I guess this is the guy. You don't know if anybody know who Edward Snowden is. So listen to what Edward Snowden said. They said this is terrifying, and it's now unfolding in real time. This warning from Edward: China built the blueprint. Western governments are now importing it. AI surveillance, social scoring, digital IDs are already here. Resist before it's too late, he says. But hey, I literally don't think it's even going to matter, because I think now I could be really wrong. I could be wrong about whether or not everything's going to fall apart completely into a big heap of ash here in America, or there might be a phoenix coming out of this ash. Whatever big crisis is coming, I don't know if we're going to recover from it. But if we do, you've got this to look forward to. Okay? This is what you got to look forward to right here.
What they call the social credit system. If any of these family photos, if any of your activities online, if your purchases, if your associations, if your friends are in any way different from what the government or the powers that be of the moment would like them to be, you're no longer able to purchase train tickets. You're no longer able to board an airplane. You may not be able to get a passport. You may not be eligible for a job. You might not be able to work for the government. All of these things are increasingly being created and programmed and decided by algorithms. And those algorithms are fueled by precisely the innocent data that our devices are creating all of the time, constantly, invisibly, quietly, right now. Our devices are casting all of these records that we do not see being created, that in aggregate seem very innocent. You were at Starbucks at this time. You went to the hospital afterwards. You spent a long time at the hospital. After you left the hospital, you made a phone call. You made a phone call to your mother. You talked to her until the middle of the night. The hospital was an oncology clinic. Even if you can't see the content of these communications, the activity records, what the government calls metadata, which they argue they do not need a warrant to collect, tells the whole story. And these activity records are being created and shared and collected and intercepted constantly by companies and governments. And ultimately it means as they sell these, as they trade these, as they make their businesses on the backs of these records, what they are selling is not information. What they are selling is us. They're selling our future. They're selling our past. They are selling our history, our identity, and ultimately they are stealing our power and making our stories work for them.
Well, yeah, and I think it's even worse than that. I mean, the AI, I think, is already scouring everything that you're writing in private emails. I think it's, databasing every detail of every post, of everything that you say, even in private. Your smart TV is picking it all up. Your cell phones are picking it up. Your car is picking up your voice. If it's a newer car, it's probably got surveillance type equipment already installed, whether it's microphones or cameras. It's already sending your data to your insurance company without you even knowing it. You're driving too fast, you brake too fast, you swerve too much, you regularly are going over the speed limit. You're going to have a higher insurance rate because your car is going to tell your insurance company on you. And who knows whatever else they're doing. I'm sure there's a lot more than what we know. And this is an interesting little picture here I wanted to kind of show you guys. I was looking at this. Look at this. So this is what happened between Friday and Sunday night. Look at this. Between Friday and Sunday night. So you had, I believe this is crude oil, right? Yeah, this is crude oil futures. It was at $90. Look at it, went skyrocketed to 106, 109, and now here we are up around 116. And then you got over here, if you look over here, these are some of the futures on the stocks. Look at this. You got US 30 down 1,000, US 500, I guess that's the Fortune 500, or what do they call that? US 500, what is that? CFD. Anyway, these are all down. Dow Jones down. Now, I don't know. I thought Dow was down at like 1,200. It says it's maybe that was from Friday, right? The futures right now. Let me just look at the futures really quick. I'll put this on the screen too. Hold on. Yeah, the Dow futures right now are down $1,023, 2.15%. That's what it's down. It's down at 46,500, right? So this was just from the other day, but look. Oh, that's the S&P 500. I'm sorry. The NASDAQ. Okay, all this is down from Friday. But this up here, I'm not sure if these are like the futures, right? Okay, I think this might be the Dow up here, US 30. Is that right, guys? I'm not sure. But anyway, look right here. So when you got the market movers, you know what market movers right here? Look, you see this right here, market movers? So I guess these are the really powerful stocks like Tesla, Nvidia, Amazon. Look at everything's down. Everything's down 6%, almost 3% here, 2% Tesla, Nvidia down 3%, Microsoft, 0.5%. But look at this one in the green. What is this one in the green? Up 3%. I wonder what that could be. Oh, I don't know. Could it be Satan? No, this is actually Palantir. Yeah, Palantir Technologies, the tracking, tracing, and killing software that will basically database you for, to take you out. That's what they used in Gaza. That's what they used in Ukraine. And that's what they're using here domestically, and has a connection to our vice president, by the way, because I think he's very steeped in this company as well. Not to mention the other, the one, that guy that looks very, like he's on drugs all the time, and he sweats, and all those tech guys look really creepy to me. They look like they're on some kind of drug. It's probably demonic possession, if you ask me, but they're not saying they're stupid or anything. They're definitely smart. But what's his name? Peter Thiel. You ever see that guy? He's always like sweat. He always looks like he's glistening, and he looks like his eyes are like, like he's totally, completely living in fear half the time, talking about the Antichrist. I mean, this dude talks about the Antichrist all the time. You have to wonder, like, what's going on in this guy's head? I mean, like, is he literally colluding with the Antichrist? Is this why it's such a big topic of discussion? And you got Trump talking about the end times and about how he's not going to let the end times happen, and now he's talking about Armageddon, and that this is a war to end all wars. This is going to be like the war that stops the whole thing. I don't know. Is he talking about trying to stop the end of the world from happening in the Middle East? Because that's what Trump said. I mean, this sounds like some crazy religious fanatic, but these are people that are ruling us. These are the people that are ruling this country, that are in government, that are in technology. These are people that are in very high levels of influence over our lives with technology and with laws that they make and whatever else they want to do to you and me, tax us to death, and making laws that, I just love the law that Trump just recently. I think it was something where he repealed. What did he clarified? Okay, so Trump base all excited about rolling back abortion, right? That never happened because they're pushing it forward. There's actually more abortions happening now than there ever was. And then this whole thing about, Trump's going to pull back on gender mutilation. He's going to stop the kids from getting, their genitals cut off and giving them all kinds of hormones that turn them into boys when they're girls, or girls and turning girls into boys when they're girls. And to me, that's like murder. Like you're murdering somebody. You're literally murdering somebody when you do that, right? So it should be illegal. And that's what Trump kind of made it sound like he was going to do. But now he says, yeah, we don't want to do gender mutilations or anything like that unless there's adult consent. They can't do it on their own. That's like saying, hey, we're against murder, but if your parent says it's okay, well, then I guess it's okay. we're going to go ahead and let you do it. Even though we said we were going to totally make it illegal, now it's something we still say we don't like. But you can do it. If your mom and dad said it's okay, go ahead. You can kill them. It just doesn't make any sense. Tel Aviv fully blacked out. Okay, so all the power's out right now in Tel Aviv. Let's take a look and see what Tel Aviv looks like right now. They got cameras there right now? Let's see. Oh, yeah, it is. Well, you got some lights on there. This is a live feed right here. It's not completely blacked out, but it does look dark compared to what it normally looks like. Let's see. This was like 4 hours ago. Let's see if it looks any different. I don't know. It looks like their lights are still on. Oh, it looks like the sun is coming up. Look at that. You can see the sunrise there. So that's a live feed right there from the AP. But they're saying that I guess that it's going out. So it says here, Tel Aviv fully blacked out and port of Haifa is burning to the ground as Iran pounds Israel. I don't know. That might be a little bit of exaggeration because I don't see Tel Aviv blacked out, and I hope Haifa's not burning to the ground. But I'm sure they're being hit pretty hard. Let's take a look. So there's some video here on X. It says, reports claim massive Iranian strikes have paralyzed the... Okay, so this is power plants, energy facilities, and oil refineries are reportedly hit. The heart of Israel's losing its power. The fire is spreading, blah, blah, blah. Let's take a look. Ooh. Let's take a look. Let's make it bigger. So was that it? Let's do that one more time. Wow, that was pretty bright. Okay. Well, that's what they're saying. Here's some gas prices pretty high in Los Angeles, $8.29 a gallon. Are you serious? How can you have gas that high? That's like really high. That's like really high gas. My goodness. Let's see. Israel and the U.S. are going to be launching a massive strike on Tehran's infrastructure tonight in a final blow to the regime. This is the fury phase. Uh-oh. We're in the fury phase right now. This is what they're saying. Once complete, President Trump will announce a halt to military action and tell the Iranian people, now is your chance to take back your country. The eyes of the world are upon you. Oh, really? How are they going to do that without water? There's no salination plant. They've taken out all the salination plants. Didn't we just destroy all their water supply? If they fail to topple the government, the massacre of Iranian civilians will be used as justification for the 82nd Airborne and boots on the ground in the Kavar Desert in April. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. There's going to be widespread death and destruction inside of Iran, unfortunately. And then we're going to end up invading. And that would be just weeks away from a ground invasion. Draft is going to be, young people are going to be called into their local, military recruitment centers. They're going to be drafted, trained, and then sent into Iran. Expect to see lots of videos of protests and fighting as the kinetic war stops and the Army's 4th and 8th Psychological Operation Groups, CIA's Special Activity Centers, take over. Oh. You know what I think is going to happen here in America? I think there's going to be a huge amount of protesting going on. And it's going to be coming from Trump's base. And the left is going to go right along with it too, because they haven't liked anything that's been going on from the beginning. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be good at all. The fuel storage strikes aren't just killing people today, they're creating a cancer epidemic 30 years from now. Look at this. This is probably the black rain we were talking about. When petroleum burns, it releases sulfur oxides, nitrogen oxides, and toxic hydrocarbons. When those mix with rain, they become sulfuric acid and nitric acid. Acid rain. Chemical burns the skin. Lung damage. Carcinogens in the air. Children are breathing it right now. Historic precedent exists. 1991, Saddam burned oil wells. U.S. veterans who served there developed Gulf War syndrome, chronic pain, neurological damage, cancer. 30 years later, they're still dying from it. That was in the desert, open air, wind dispersal. This is Tehran, 10 million people confined, air basin surrounded by mountains. The smoke just sits there. Yeah, that's true. You know, I used to live in Central Cali, and there was a mountainous range that basically is like a big bowl of soup. Anytime fog would come in during certain times of the year, there would be fog. It would just sit in this big, you would always see like a big circle right in the middle, because the mountain range, basically you got the coastal mountains, you got the Sierra Nevadas, and then the ranges that go all the way around to the Grapevine going south and then north. So you would see all the pollution, all the fog, everything that would come down, and it would just swirl around in a big bowl of soup. And they say there was diseases that people would get living in the Central Valley called, they called it something fever. Something fever. I think it would call it no, they called it anyways, people would get like a lung disease. I think they called it something akin to smoking cigarettes, where they get emphysema, and they only saw it in that location in the Central Valley, because everything's there. Pesticides, because they grow everything in the valley, right? Pesticides, smog, it just hangs in there, it doesn't go anywhere. And then all of the northern smog and pollution flows down into that area, and it just swirls in a big circle in there. And so people that live there for long periods of time end up developing like emphysema and lung disease. And so this is kind of similar to what I think is happening with Tehran, is that you've got all these mountainous areas that surround these locations, and I bet you anything Tehran is kind of encircled with mountains. It says Israel just hit multiple fuel storage complexes belonging to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps troops, massive fires, black smoke over the entire city. I'm going to show you guys some videos that are going to blow your mind. Every child is breathing air. Every child breathing that air is absorbing toxins that will trigger cancers in 2046, 56, 66. Nobody will connect it. Nobody will pay for their treatment. Nobody will be held accountable. Collateral damage, more like creating a multi-generational health crisis. Let's make Iran great again is the bitter punchline here. Look at this. This is so sad. So very sad. Look at this. All right, so I'm going to show you a video of the black rain. Oh, gosh. Let's see if I can find that one that has the black rain. Honey, where's that video where the guy's showing the black rain? I think this might be it. Let me see.
That the rain
yeah, this is it. Check this out. So this guy here, he looks like he's a Western guy. He's speaking pretty good English. He looks to be from the U.S. and he looks like he's in Tehran. I don't know if that's a good place to be. I was kind of thinking, man, does this guy realize what kind of danger he's in? I mean, literally, he's just talking like it's just another day to report news. But look at this.
I want to show you something because after those fires raged, there was actually rain here in Tehran this morning. And you can see here, because this is a white car, that the rain is actually apparently saturated with oil. You can see on my finger that it's completely blackened, and that's something that's been coming down for the better part of this morning. So of course that's also a concern for folks here in Tehran, that there's this rain that came down that seems to be saturated with oil.
Now there's another video of him. I guess that wasn't the one, but there's another video of him showing the walls and the wall. Oh, here it is.
This is what Tehran is waking up to this morning. The sky above the city is covered in very thick black clouds. You can see that everywhere. That's the west of the city over there, and this is the north of the city. Normally, if you look to that direction, you could actually see the Alborz Mountains, but now all of that is also covered in clouds. That comes after major airstrikes in the south and the west of the city happened last night, where oil installations were hit, oil storage facilities. Apparently also a refinery might have been hit as well. And now you can see this morning that the sky is still very dark. We saw thick black plumes of smoke in the sky yesterday. There were massive fires in the south of the city. But I want to show you something else because it's also raining. But you can see that the rain water is actually black, also saturated, it appears, with oil. And then if we look over there, you can see that the water that's running down here also is black. So that's what's coming down this morning, this sort of oil-filled rain that we have right now on the Iranian capital after those strikes took place.
Absolutely terrible. Just disgusting terribly. You know, it reminds me of that I Pet Goat where you see the Iranian, what looks to be an Iranian woman, she's crying over her child, dead child, and she's got this black, what looks like black mascara flowing down her face. It's probably oil, because in the background you see the oil fields burning and you see her with the little thing of tears, right? And you see the big mushroom cloud in the back. You got to wonder if that's not prophetic. The toxic cloud and oil contamination black rain over Tehran is expected to drift northeast with prevailing winds, potentially spreading pollution towards Central Asia and eventually Western China. The contamination is a direct result of Israeli strikes on Iranian oil storage facilities, which released large quantities of hydrocarbons, sulfuric compounds, and other toxic pollutants into the atmosphere. Iranian authorities warned the fallout could produce acidic rainfall beyond Iran's borders, raising environmental concerns across the region. Look at that. Can you imagine what will happen if they start dropping nukes? They start nuking nuclear facilities. They could literally start targeting nuclear facilities too. And that was what Dmitry Duduman saw in his dream, was they targeted nuclear facilities inside of the U.S. So you need to think about where you're at in relationship to these nuclear power plants because, yeah, anyways. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, so we did the Dubai one here. Look at this one here. Okay, so we already did all these. Let's go over to the Telegram really quick. All right. There's visual confirmation of impact of a cluster fragment in central Israel. There's a lot of video on different, impacts here inside of Israel, which they're not wanting to really let people see because there's a reason for why they want to keep everybody's morale up. They don't want the enemy to in any way think they're getting any kind of advantage or any kind of satisfaction that they're harming Israel. But I think Israel is having some major effects. But I think they're willing to endure these effects if they can take Iran completely out. They don't mind losing. And a lot of times in war, initially in the beginning phases, they'll try to limit what the public knows about losses. I think that's what's happening with the United States right now. I think we've lost a number of military personnel that we're not really aware of from some of the reports that I'm hearing. So there was video of Trump saluting the first American casualty coming off of a plane yesterday. I think there's a lot more. And we're not being told. But this is the art of war, I guess. The art of war. What people think and their perceptions is what keeps the ball rolling. Because if it was really bad, maybe there would be an outcry, especially in the fact that they're getting prepared to send the draft is coming and they're going to send your kids out there in the front lines, and how bad this is going to get. These are cluster munitions inside of Israel. Let's take a look and see. Let me get that visual up there. Hold on one second here. So these are cluster munitions here. Iran has been using cluster munitions on Israel now for the last few days. But this is what they look like. Israelis are not allowed to show these things impacting, because if they do, they get in trouble. They can go to jail, from what I understand. So that's why you'll never see actual impacts on Israelis' videos coming out unless they're, taking a chance. Let's see what else we got here. So it says the world is now experiencing its large... Okay, we already showed you that already. Okay, sorry about that. Oil is definitely surging. This kind of shows you the chart here of what happened with the oil. Number 6. Look at that. It just went straight up. And I expect it to continue to skyrocket. Let's see here. Okay, so let's take a look at the Blazing Press page. I wanted to show you guys, we're kind of reposting here. So if you want to get connected to all of our social media, make sure you download the app. The app will take you to everything that we're doing, and it'll connect you to instant alerts as well. You want to stay connected to instant alerts. That way you can get a text alert in case something goes down. All right. Okay, so this right here is showing some video of people at the pumps. People at the pumps in Thailand. Now this is spreading all over the world. Okay, so this isn't just going to be confined to the Middle East. This is going to spread globally, a global crisis and shortage of everything. It's going to affect the markets, especially with what's happening here in America, because America is going to be the linchpin, I think, economically. I think we're going to see a big collapse of our economy, and it's going to ripple out and affect every other economy around the world. And the oil is the trigger, right? It's the fuse that's been lit. Now listen to what this lady says here. She's in Thailand.
It started a couple of days ago. Total has now run out of gas. Like every gas station is closed. Oh my god. Like usually they sell glass bottles with petrol in small shops and stuff. But I've looked everywhere and there's nothing to be found.
So literally they sell in Thailand gas in little bottles, like little containers. You can't even find little containers of gas. A lot of them ride motorcycles, so a little pint would help get you, 50 miles or 100 miles, and they don't even have that. This is in Thailand. This is in Southeast Asia. You know how this is going to spread, how it's going to affect bigger countries like China? I mean, we're talking about global trade here. We're talking about something so huge. This is like the prelude to the whole world going into chaos. Does this really make sense to you guys? I mean, really think about how serious of a situation we're facing right now. I mean, I don't think people realize how end time-ish this is. Like how much in line with biblical prophecy we're actually witnessing unfold right now. So let's just take a look at some of the news articles we posted today. This was the toxic contamination. We talked about that. Doomsday aircraft has been deployed to the Middle East. The E-6B Mercury is now airborne. That's kind of concerning. Are they expecting some kind of nuclear event? Are they trying to figure out if there's any kind of releases in preparation for possible nuclear things that are happening? Maybe there's testing going on. Who knows? These are the planes that sniff out that kind of thing and can find out. Bangladesh just rationed fuel nationwide, and it spurs panic buying. Let's take a look at that. I think there might be a video on this one. No, it doesn't have a video. 95% of Bangladesh's fuel is imported. Fertilizer plants are shutting down. This is according to Reuters. On Friday, they imposed daily limits on fuel sales after panic buying and stockpiling raised concerns about supply as the war in the Middle East roiled global energy markets. The measures follow U.S. and Israeli airstrikes on Iran and retaliatory strikes by Tehran across the Middle East, which have disrupted oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz a key energy route. Now, this is affecting everybody. Obviously, this is going to affect every country, especially these smaller countries that are really dependent, that don't have stockpile. But China, Russia, United States, we all have reserves. How much in reserve, we don't know, but I'm sure we do. Remember, I told you that the reason why Trump was going into Venezuela was to prepare for global war. We needed more oil. In order to wage a global war, we needed to make sure we had enough oil. And where are we getting all of our oil for this war? Venezuela. That's what Venezuela was really all about. It was in preparation for what's happening now. All right, so red alert. There's a red alert in Israel again. Let's see what's going on here. It looks like this is in the north again. And, center of Galilee. Haifa was really bombarded here earlier, about an hour ago. Haifa was taking a lot of hits, I think. Okay, this is... we might not be ready for what's coming. Global chaos just in time for Trump's board of peace and New World Order. You know, they say it's Trump's New World Order. The whole world's talking about a New World Order in the last, month? And now here we are with the new board of peace, the UN bowing out, going bankrupt, actually. It's not able to sustain its own costs. So Trump is now giving a little bit of charity to the UN and actually telling them that we're going to oversee their operations, right? And Trump is the chairman of this board of peace. This is the new kind of peace. This is a new world order peace. What we see happening right now is really peace. You just don't know it yet. It's ushering in the new peace, the new global order of peace. But we have to destroy everything first, right? It's called Build Back Better, but we got to destroy it before we can build it back. And the old order has to disappear. So that's what's coming. So Trump is the one that's overseeing this. He's the one that's facilitating it. And he's the one managing the chaos because he's the only one that can really do a good job. You know, he's good at managing bankruptcies. That's why they chose the man or whoever chose him. Could be non-human. Might be the aliens. And he's about to disclose aliens. Remember all this talk about disclosing aliens? They were on the brink of releasing all these alien videos, right? A disclosure. Whatever happened to that? That didn't happen either. That was supposed to happen, 2 weeks ago? They were talking about it. He's just about to do it. He's just about to release the alien disclosure. It's all coming out, Laura Trump said. And the whole mainstream media was at a buzz trying to figure out what was going to happen with the aliens. Maybe the aliens just told Trump, no, we need to go to war first, and let's just bring everything into chaos, and then we'll come out and let everybody know who we are. And you can be the one that tells the whole world that yes, there are alien intelligence and humanoids that are walking amongst us. We don't even know. In fact, one of them we just saw the other day was acting like he was Jim Carrey. Really wasn't Jim Carrey. It was an alien. They're going to let everybody know that. That wasn't Jim Carrey. That was an alien. Didn't it look like an alien? It did look kind of weird, alien-ish. Joe Biden is an alien, too. Look at this guy. He's really upset. He's got a big old piece of bread in his hand like a club. He wants to club somebody with his piece of bread. Food riots. Let's see what this is.
July 11th of that year, there was another important first. The price of oil hit 100.
Okay, we already saw that one. So it says the last time oil hit $147 a barrel, the global economy started to collapse. Within 60 days, the stock market recorded one of its worst crashes in history. So we did go over all this information already. Cuba is starving to death right now. What are we going to do about Cuba? They're right off our doorstep there. There was a complete embargo against the country, and just like Japan and before we actually jumped into World War II, and they attacked us, we had embargoed their whole nation. Right, the whole country was basically a naval blockade. Right, they couldn't get anything in or out. So what did they do? They decided they're going to attack us. Pretty sad. Let's see what this guy has to say here.
So Cuba has completely fallen. If you don't know what's going on, go check it out. America's been keeping oil out of Cuba for 15, 20 days, I don't know, longer than that. The entire infrastructure is gone. There's no power, and even if they got oil at this point, it wouldn't matter. They are going to be starving out and dying in mass droves very soon. Cuba has fallen. Go check it out.
It says that a multi-agency effort is underway to find potential cases to bring against members of the Cuban regime and Communist Party, NBC News has learned. So they're trying to blame Cuba for why everything is falling apart? Or is it that we're just wanting to take over and install Marco Rubio as president and annex Cuba into America? Is that what we're trying to do? We're trying to make Cuba a part of America. The administration is working to develop possible criminal cases tied to issues like drugs or violence, according to the person. The multi-agency effort is being led by the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Florida. Federal prosecutors from across the country work every day to pursue justice, which includes efforts to combat transnational crime. It's kind of like why we went into Venezuela, because they were sending fentanyl into America. I think they made a mistake on that. All the fentanyl comes from the cartels who are working closely with China. And all those boats that were being blown up, there's no way they could have reached the mainland of the U.S. anyway. So not sure exactly why they were being blown up. But, I remember it was in preparation for what's happening now. We needed the oil. We needed to take over their oil fields. And now we have them, because this new administration is allowing us to do whatever we want now. I don't know how bad it is there. We're probably not hearing anything that's going on there. For all we know, the whole country could be, killing each other and eating each other like cannibals, and we wouldn't even know it. Because there's too many other crazy things going on in the world. And there's going to be more crazy things. So the last crazy thing that should be being focused on is not going to be even paid attention to, because there's like 10 other new things that are popping up on the radar. So nobody's paying attention to anything else, and people are everything's being destroyed, and we're just looking at the next big mushroom cloud. Like, where's the next one going to pop off? I mean, that's how it's called sensory overload. It's just too many things happening all at once. Nobody can handle all the news. It's just one thing after another after another. And that's good, because chaos is a good business. That way you're not being held accountable. People can't focus on anything and get it done. There's too many things happening. The war is now hitting every commodity market. Middle East conflict rattles commodities market. LNP. What is this? This is very blurry, but aluminum, LNG. Let's see. Can't really see that too well, but anyways, it says here that Well, that's just a picture of what it was. Huh. Okay. Governor Newsom in California, $8 plus a gallon. Panic buying has started. Anybody here live in California? Just curious. Is anybody seeing prices like this? Or is this just kind of a one-off thing in some weird area? What's the highest prices in gas that you're seeing right now? I want to hear it from any part of the country that are watching, or even in the world. There might be people in other countries right now. What are you paying per gallon? And I know if you're in another country, you go by liters and you go by, our gallon and our metric. Our system is not metric, so we don't go by weights and measures like they do in the rest of the world. We're just like kind of special, I guess. We think that we don't need anybody else in the world. We've got our own way of doing things here in America. But what's the prices you're seeing? I'm kind of curious. I'm going to look at your guys' chat here. I am really curious to see what the highest price is right now. $5 in Northern California, but you can get it cheaper. $5 in Northern California. $3.41 in Pennsylvania, Mr. Doc Baller is saying. $4. Petrol prices could be $4 as Iran conflict sends global oil soaring. I think it's going to get a lot higher than that, Glenn. Oh, that's in New Zealand? And that's probably per liter? It's not really a gallon. $4 is per liter, I bet, right? $3.50 in Florida. Now, I think what's coming is prices are still after tomorrow is when the prices go up. Because what's happened is we've had a little price increase, but a lot of the gas stations don't raise prices until they get their new shipments in, usually, unless they're wanting to gouge people. But what they paid for it is what they're going to sell it in the profit margin, normally if they're, if they have any morals. But what ends up happening is when people start panicking and they buy really quick, then they need new shipments, and that's when the price goes up. So we're still kind of in the before glow. Like we haven't actually hit the realization yet in the market, like in the average everyday market where you live. It hasn't really hit people yet. So people are going to start realizing here in the next 24 hours when they go to their gas station tomorrow and they realize, hey, prices have gone up like 50 cents. And they're saying it's going to go a lot higher. I'm hearing it all over the news now. Maybe we should go up and stock up, honey. And so they stock up, and then the prices keep going up, and then it gets worse, and then more people panic, more people are stockpiling, and then you just see the prices go up, and everybody starts freaking out. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be a total run. I don't think you can deplete all that reserves that we do have. They're going to try to keep calm and anybody from panicking. But when you hear the news that we're going to send in paratroopers and we've got the draft possibly being called up, and some big event happens where airports now are being shut down. I mean, that happened today. All these weird threats, bomb threats and terrorism here, and that some dude had an incendiary where he was going to throw it, and if it would have exploded, it could have killed a lot of people, but it didn't explode. This is all in America. So this is all going on right now in the last 24 hours. What happens if something really does pop off that really does cause shock in the public? A shock here and a shock there, and a lot of people died here because of some terror. Some people are freaking out right now. So I don't put it past anybody to do something crazy, because they're losing their mind. You know what I mean? And so if something like that starts happening, then it's going to cause, that's what terrorism does. It causes terror, right? People start having fear when they start seeing these things now are getting close to home. Oh my gosh, it was in my town. Oh my gosh, it was only a few miles away from where I live. When you start thinking like that and you start realizing maybe we're not being told everything. Maybe that's why there's National Guard in every state now being activated. Maybe that's why the federal government is federalizing state and local law enforcement. Maybe that's why they're building all these new camps. Maybe that's why they're buying all these new camps and getting them all set up for the illegals. Maybe there's something else going on that we're not really being told. S. Young says the Rothschilds created a country in 1948. Absolutely. And it was to fool the dispensationalists. Exactly. That's what I keep telling people. The dispensationalists under the Darby translation, which was commissioned by said Rothschilds. Do you remember that candy they used to have back in the 80s? They had a commercial called, and it was a candy they called the Rothschilds. Please give me a Rothschilds. I would like a Rothschild. It was like the aristocrats, you know. Anyways, they were the ones that brought and commissioned this translation, or this interpretation, I should say, of the end times, because prior to the last couple hundred years, this dispensational theology about Israel was not even anywhere in the theology of Christians for the last 2,000 years, okay? So this whole bless Israel and you're going to be blessed idea, you can only bless those who bless. Remember, the New Testament, if you're a Christian, this is what the New Testament says. Every spirit that confesses that Jesus is the Christ is of God. And anyone who doesn't is not of God. So they cannot be chosen by God, right? You can only be chosen if you receive Yeshua Christ as he appeared 2,000 years ago and understand what he did in his death, burial, and resurrection, and appropriate that work that was accomplished for you, benefiting from it, right? But if you curse his name, you don't speak his name, and you say he's an idolatrous, anathema, and you curse his name, how can you be the chosen people? You're not. You're someone that's antagonistic and opposed to the chosen people. So how can you, Christians, bless a system or a government or an idealism or even a temple rebuild? How can you be promoting that? Or those who want to placate and pretend like they're your friend just because they're gaining something from you, a benefit, because that's what they do. That's what they're doing. They're just using your political influence for a period of time until they're done with you. And right now, I think that it's kind of what you're seeing with Trump is that the base was needed for a reason, for a period of time, and then once it was over, it's done. Now he pivots to the middle. That's why he's become a lot more liberal. They always say that in elections anyway. You pander to your base, and then as the election gets close, you pivot to the middle, and you try to gain as many more people to follow you from the other side. And it's really not about morals. It's not about really truly what you believe. It's more about political expediency and how you can trick as many people as you can without really having anything that you really truly do stand for. Politicians don't, you know how they say anytime a politician speaks, he's just lying? That's true, because they're just channeling what you want to hear. They're only going to tell you what you want to hear. They're not going to really tell you what they truly believe and they uphold, so that because it limits their ability to try to gain more support, right? They want to be as low denomination, as low bar as they can to try to appeal to as many as they can, as much as they can. They need all those votes, right? And they want to try to make you feel good, but they're really not doing anything, right? What you always say this: look at what they do and not what they say, right? What are they actually doing? That's what I do. I look at what are they doing, not what they're saying, because people get caught up in, oh, well, he said this, well, it made me feel good, and he says he loves me and he smiles at me and he points at me and he does, he's for me. He says he's my family, a part of me, part of my, that was one of the things that I had when I was doing all these, these videos where they were getting millions of views. We were promoting Trump, 2016, and I would have all these dreams about Trump. And he was always like really nice to me in my face. Every time I had a dream about Trump, it was like, he was nice. I wanted to hug him, or something was happening. He was but then he would turn and he would do something really like evil, like to me. And I would be like freaked out in my dream. Like I'd be like, what in the world? I'd tell my wife, like, why did I have that dream? This is so bizarre. My subconscious, who knows? Maybe the Lord was trying to warn me about this whole thing way back before all this came out, before I really woke up. It was almost like God was trying to show me in the dream state. I think that's kind of where you see the truth, is where you get deeper into really the nature of who you are and who that person is that you're dealing with. And I could literally see the deception. Even then I was being fooled by it, but then at a certain point I woke up about it, right? That's when I woke up in 2020. So anyways, there's some more stuff here. Let's see what else we got here. We got a bunch more things coming in here. Let's go over here to this. The Messiah, let's see. It says here, in a lecture, Rabbi Kessin laid out a breathtaking framework connecting the current American-Israeli campaign against Iran to the final redemption of Israel. And that when they say the redemption of Israel, they're talking about the rebuilding of their temple. They're not talking about the redemption of your soul or your physical body. Well, yeah, they are in a certain way, because the appearing of the Messiah is actually in keeping with bringing order to this world that we live in, right? A rule and reign of peace and prosperity over all the nations, Israel being the capital, the spiritual capital of all nations, right? They're all going to be subject to the God of Abraham through a physical, political Messiah. He's going to be a physical, political, not a God Savior like Christianity teaches, that he came to save us from our sin and from our fallen nature and to redeem us. No, they believe that he's just going to politically facilitate their influence and dominant power over the nations. Kind of like an Old Testament kind of belief system of rulership over the savages. That's why they call them the Goyim, because the Goyim obviously are a cut below. They're a lower class system. They're kind of like akin to animals in some. If you look at the Talmud, it teaches that, right? Anybody that's not Jewish is considered to be lower species. If you didn't know that, you should go look it up. But anyways, just especially the Christians out there who have a love affair with anything that has to do with Old Testament. And I'm not saying Old Testament or law is bad or anything. I'm not saying Jews are. I'm just saying there is neither Jew nor Gentile. There is neither bond nor free, male nor female. All are one in Christ, right? So when you're in Christ, you're not looking at this national distinction. You're not looking at, oh, well, we got better genes than you do, or we're going to try to have, we have a super race, because that sounds kind of like Nazism to me. But, our race is a cut above all of the races. When you have that kind of superior mindset, well, then you're obviously not in touch with the God of heaven, because God is not a respecter of persons. And the gospel went to the Gentiles after it went to the Jews. They got first crack at it. They screwed up. They rejected their Messiah, and now the Gentiles benefited. All right. Now he's going to come back and give them a second chance during Jacob's trouble. And it says they're going to see him whom they've pierced at that time, and they're going to call upon his name, and they'll be saved at that time, whoever's left, because it's going to be Jacob's trouble. It's going to be this is what they call the tribulation, They are going to go through hell just like the rest of the world. They're not going to be immune from it, and they're not going to rule the world. The New Jerusalem is coming out and down out of the heavens, it says, and it's not here on the earth. So when it says the New Jerusalem comes down out of the heavens, and it's the mother of us all, it's not talking about a physical location or a political system. It's talking about a government that's, the wonderful counselor, the mighty God, the everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace, and the government will rest upon his shoulders. Who is that? That's Yeshua. That's Jesus. That has nothing to do with a political leader. And that doesn't have anything to do with the old city or the Temple Mount or anything else. Okay? You are the temple of the Holy Spirit, the Bible says. Jesus even said it. They're no longer going to worship at this temple or at the Samaritan temple, for a time has come and is now where the Father seeks such to worship him who are going to worship him in spirit and in truth. Right? They're not going to be worshiping at these Temple Mounts anymore. What do you know? That's why they wanted to kill him. That's why they rejected him. Because he said he was God. He said he was the I am. He could forgive sins. All right. That's not a political leader. So Christians, get it right and stop worshiping people. That's idolatry. Okay. So in the year of Messiah, Rabbi Kenzen turned to the Jewish calendar year of 5786 this year. The gematria of 786 is identical to the phrase of Yavo Mashiach, which is Messiah, Yavo. I'm not sure. The Messiah will come. Okay, so it means the Messiah will come. So he says, written thousands of years ago, that in the year Messiah comes, Persia will declare war against the entire world. Edom identified with the West. See, they identify the U.S. as a part of Edom, or, they basically say Edom is like a part of Esau. So Esau, and they say Edom, it has to do with the white race. But anyway, I won't go into all that because that's kind of a little bit more. But it goes on to say the third temple this year, Rabbi Kinzen made a stunning claim. He cited a commentary known as the Baal Haturim, and it contains encoded within it the duration of both the first and the second temples. And the full gematria, if you don't know what gematria is, it's just a calculation of letters and numbers, and it has encoded within it messages that come from the biblical texts, as well as just names of people that supposedly, it's kind of an esoteric, reading the tea leaves kind of thing. But they say it has some kind of validity, there's some validity to it, but who knows. The year 5786, so in 5786, which is this year, this is actually when the third temple, Bet Ham Kadash, will be built. So they're expecting it to be built. They do believe that Trump has facilitated this rebuild, that he is like a Cyrus, the second Cyrus, that will facilitate the rebuilding of their temple, which is why they consider him to be a Messiah. That's why they gave him the menorah, the Hanukkah menorah, with that inscription that he was the wonderful counselor, the mighty God. They gave him the scripture, the Prince of Peace. That's only reserved for the Messiah. They said that was Trump. They gave him the crown of Jerusalem. And they made the temple coin, everything else. They're talking about him as if he is the one that's going to usher in the new golden age for Israel, right? The greater Israel. Expansion of their territories to biblical specs. And that includes Lebanon, Syria, the Golan Heights, all of that territory, Gaza, all the way even going down into Egypt. I mean, that's what they're expecting the greater Israel to be. Now, this is going to cause a big backlash. This is why all the nations are gathering. This is exactly what the scripture said would happen. And it's happening right before our very eyes. So Israel 365 News, which is a big news new site says, the year of Messiah. Rabbi Kinzen then turned to the Jewish calendar. Okay, I think we just read this. Did we not? He then cited the, revelation of the divine presence. Okay, so it says the Gematria 786 is identical to the phrase, the Messiah will come. It is also the Gematria of Gulish. Okay, that's the revelation of the divine presence. That's the Shekinah, right? In Israel at Mount Sinai. He then cited a vast medieval Pelium of Midrash Shenkem, which contains a passage that Rabbi has referenced for years, written thousands of years ago. It states that the year when the Messiah comes, Persia will declare war against Edom, identified with the West, specifically America, and they will fight back and defeat Persia. And then a divine voice, a bat kol, will ring out from heaven. Do not worry, the time of your redemption has arrived. That's interesting. That sounds like Jesus' return, don't it? That's what it says in Revelation. It says he closed with what may be his most stunning claim. He cited a commentary known as the Baal HaTurim, who notes the word, and I will dwell, from the verse in Parashat Tamura, where God says, and I will dwell in their midst, contains encoded within it the duration of both the first and the second temples. The letters of the word allude to 410 years, the length of the first temple period, and 420, the length of the second temple, and the full gematria of 786. So in 5786, which is this year, that is actually when the third temple will be built. Don't be surprised if you wake up one day and all of a sudden the newspapers are reporting, we can't believe it, there's actually a temple sitting on top of the Temple Mount. Oh man. I mean, I could see that, something like that happening. I mean, something's going to happen to the Dome of the Rock. That would be ultimate chaos on planet Earth if that happened. That would bring in chaos. That would be the ultimate last nail in the coffin. The destruction of the Temple Mount. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. I think we've got a whole... Oh, this was weird. This was a video of the underground sewer systems blowing up. Petro lighting, igniting in storm drains. This was in Iran after Israeli strikes on oil depots. So I'm not sure if that had to do with the oil from the rain, because the oil came down inside of the storm drains and created, toxic fumes, and then somehow it ignited. Check this out. Here, I'll pull this up so you can see it here. Is that crazy? That's literally oil in the storm drains catching on fire. In the storm drains. Wow. And this was scenes from Kansas City International Airport as a mass evacuation was happening because of a possible terror event. I don't know if something actually happened. Look at this. So that was today in Kansas City, complete evacuation of the airport. And then we have this. This looks apocalyptic. This was a mostly peaceful protest going on in the background. Isn't that what it reminded you of? But no, this is not AI. This is literally a guy standing in front of burning oil fields in Iran making a report, a TV correspondent, while he's standing there in front of this oil depot in complete flames. Look at this.
مردم بنزین برای اینی که ماشین‌های شما ماشین‌های امدادی و آمبولانس‌های شما راحت در شهر بچرخه. اینجایی که الان زده فاصله خیلی نزدیکی با مکان‌های مسکونی داره، یعنی خیلی محل عبور و مرور مردم و محل اسکان و خونه‌های مردم.
He's like, man, it's getting kind of warm in my backside here. I can feel the heat. It's really hot. I don't know what else to do, but terrible, terrible toxic smells. But yes. Can you imagine? Can you imagine living there? My goodness. This is absolutely horrifying. Can you imagine living next to something like this? This is literally like, wow. And there's literally whole apartments and everything. Look at this. Look at this. So you got apartments right here. Look at this. Look at that. Absolutely crazy. Caroline Levitt reports that President Trump has not ruled out using a military draft in the war with Iran. And this is Bangladesh. We showed you guys that. Showed you that. Saudi Arabia says Iranian missile projectile fell at residential area in East Riyadh. So they're still firing into Saudi Arabia. That's pretty serious. Oil markets are preparing for a price of $100 per barrel in a few days. It's already there. This was earlier today, and it's already past that. It's already like 120. Isn't it 120 now or 116? I think it's 116 right now. Now, also, silver market's being crushed. So the Dow Jones futures right now got a little bit better. They're at negative 983, but still on the open tomorrow, we're going to see how bad it really is. Silver and gold prices. It looks like silver's going back up. It was down. It went up about 30 cents, but it's still down about $1. $83 right now. Gold is kind of curious to see where Bitcoin is. Gold price today is negative 60 at 5,097. Bitcoin is at 67,000 a coin. Still kind of just hanging out there. Hasn't really changed too much. And let's see what else we got here. This is that terror event we set out of New York City. This was interesting. They caught this guy. He had an incendiary, which they said that was the same one used in the two bombings in 7/7 inside of the UK, which was pretty serious. And they also used the same type of incendiary in, what was the other one they said? Let's see if I can remember what they called it. Oh, the Ariana Grande concert. Remember that when they had that big attack inside of the concert hall? Same type of munitions. ISIS and Al-Qaeda used this kind of substance. It's enormously volatile, It contained TATP, which I have no idea what that is, but it says that it's a highly volatile, unstable organic peroxide and primary explosive. It says known for its sensitivity to friction, heat, and shock, often called Mother of Satan. It is synthesized from acetone and hydrogen peroxide, appearing as a white crystalline powder with a fruity or bleach-like odor. So I guess it's some kind of an explosive. So somebody had it and they basically tackled this guy. This was in New York City, and arrested him and charged him with terrorism, I guess. Yeah. It was an anti-Islamic protest. So here we go. You got protests taking place against Islamic because of what's going on in Iran. They're making an issue about it's an Islamic thing against the West, right? So they got these people out there protesting against Islam, and then this guy comes in with this explosive to harm a bunch of people, which potentially could have happened. The thing didn't go off. Luckily, it didn't go off. And they tackled him and they arrested him. Now, can you imagine if something would have happened there where a whole bunch of people would have gotten killed or hurt because of this protest? Like I said, this is all these possible things could happen. It says the incident unfolded during the Islamic holy month of Ramadan outside of the home of New York City's first Muslim mayor. This happened outside of the mayor's home, Zohran Mamdani. So this happened right outside of his house. Wow. I didn't know that. The device was capable of causing serious injuries or death. And it says the NYP said Sunday, and multiple law enforcement sources told CNN that 2 men arrested in connection with the device admitted to being inspired by ISIS. FBI's New York's Joint Terrorism Task Force is working with the NYPD on the investigation. So, like I said, this is happening, and it probably is going to be happening more, I would imagine, if these types of things keep going on. All we can do is pray that it gets better. And I do believe we're looking at a financial crisis. Look at this post here. This is really an interesting post because it shows the numbers here of what's really going on. And this is an indicator of how close we are to something happening financially, just like in 2008. Look at the numbers here. So this shows the same point in time in terms of its, shoot, I didn't add any commentary to this. These numbers are worse than 2008 financial crisis. So if you look at the financial crisis of 2008, you're looking at when it started. 2008 was right about where this gray zone is. You see this gray zone? And you're looking at it right about here, 2008. It started back up here. And so if you go across, we're already past that point, right? That's when it began, was right about here. And look, we're already past that. So whatever these numbers indicate, it's indicating that we're going back into that place. Like something just happened that brought these numbers down to a place where we could literally see something affect our economy akin to 2008. This was 2008 collapse right here. Right? That's not good. That's not good at all. And I think that's about it. I think I've taken you guys down a pretty bleak looking news cycle tonight. And hopefully I didn't depress you too much. But if anything, I hope I prepared you with reality and what you got to do to be able to navigate through this time. Most of that comes from within. I'm not saying that outwardly you can't prepare, because it is important to have extra things that you might need if there is a supply chain, which I think there will be, crash, choke, shortage, and gas shortages. Prepare accordingly. But mindset is very key. Heart set. Where's your heart? Is your heart right? That's what we got to ask ourselves. Are we right before our Creator? Do we know that He's pleased with what we're doing? If we're not doing it for the right reasons, God knows. You might be doing a lot of good things, but outwardly, but inwardly, you're not doing it for the right reason. That's what God's looking at. What is your heart saying? And how do you sync up that motive with God's heart and make it a right motive? How do you do that? That's where the Holy Spirit comes in. That's where your meditation on God's word daily comes in. That's where when you hear from Him, He's already going out before you. He's setting the stage. He's giving you strength. He's giving you wisdom. He's giving you a heart that's been touched and transformed. You can't do it on your own. If you think you can do it on your own, you're going to find out the hard way that it ain't going to happen. That's why true dependence, true worship, true prayer is all, contrary to the way the world would think, because we can do it on our own, in our own strength. We can figure things out. We've got AI. We've got all kinds of resources. We don't need anybody. We've got a workforce we can marshal. We've got AI now we can use as our workforce. We don't even need people anymore. And eventually we're going to start realizing that we do need people, and we need God mostly, because He made people for a reason. And we shouldn't be treating our neighbors, even people we disagree with, even people that might have different beliefs, as subhuman. We can't be looking at people like that, because God doesn't look at humanity like that. If we start doing that, then we're going to end up having that backlash where we end up being in that place. You know what I mean? And we got people that are ruling, and a lot of times God allows these types of dictators to arise to power because of the people's rebellion against His rule, God's rule. God sends, it says in the scriptures, He sends these dictators and these evil leaders to rule over you because your heart is not right with Him. And it's a discipline. It's a way to get your attention back to Him, right? That's why Saul came in. The King Saul came in over Israel because they wanted a ruler like the nations. They didn't want God to rule them. They didn't want to submit to His laws and will in their own, personal relationship with Him. They would rather someone else tell them what to do. And then at that point, you got all the corruption that comes in with that, and you got the pride that comes in with that, and all the other extra baggage that people bring. I mean, it's hard enough following God, and having God help you through this world. And if you don't have Him, then man, it's really, you're not going to make it. It's just not going to happen. So everybody, we all need to get right, and let's just say that prayer that gets us into a place where we should be. So I'm going to say a prayer and ask God that He bless everybody here. Father, we ask for your blessing on this night. We pray that you speak to our hearts continually throughout the evening and into the day tomorrow, preparing us for things that are to come, giving us wisdom from above. Only you can give us whatever it takes to make life the way you intended it to be. You're the only one that is. You said, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Without me, you can do nothing. If you don't abide in the vine, you're a branch that's cut off to be thrown and ready to be thrown into the fire. So may that life that you have that keeps us connected to the source of all things, without you, we can do nothing. May we abide in you, and that you will have free rule and reign in our hearts and lives and over us. If you abide with us, then we will inherit eternity. We will inherit that life that is eternal. For all those who are seeking for peace in this world and in the world to come, Lord, I pray that you will answer their prayer now, and that you will fill them with your Holy Spirit, and show them your will. And then rebuke the devourer, rebuke that enemy that comes to steal, kill, and destroy. You said, I come that you might have life, and that you might have it more abundantly. And that life that we are seeking, Lord, that is abundant and eternal. And I pray that you pour out a blessing upon everyone that's here, on the sound of my voice, that they cannot contain. It would overflow unto eternal life that is seen and heard by all those who know them, that they would see the light of your presence upon them. You said that your glory would rest upon us. Let that glory of your presence rest upon all those who are hearing me now, that receive you at this moment in this day. In Jesus' name, we love you. We thank you. We bless you. We ask for your blessings upon the days ahead, and prepare us for the things that we need to do in order to continue to be the light in this world. That's the only reason we exist and live, is to glorify your name. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Isn't that what life was meant to be lived, how it was meant to be lived, connected? It's kind of like a light bulb without being plugged in. Your purpose is to be plugged in. You got to be plugged into the source. If you don't abide in the vine, how are you going to bear fruit? How are you going to bring life to the world if you're a branch that's thinking you're going to do it on your own? I don't need the vine. I can do it on my own. Well, that's what it says. It withers and it dies and it's ready to be burned. So abide in Christ. Understand what that means. You know, I keep feeling like we should do like communion or something. I really feel like we're going to be doing a communion service here really soon. So for all you who are believers out there that understand the purpose and the reason why we do and take communion, there's also the baptism. These are rites that are indicative of a spiritual reality that we, become one with, this reality that is a part of who we are. It confirms it in this natural world for a reason that is beyond even our understanding. But I do believe that when we gather together in his name, it says there he is present. We need to be doing the communion. If I was on the Titanic and it was sinking, I would be doing the communion. All right? So that's what we're going to be doing, okay? I know we're going to be doing it here really soon. I'll let you know when we're going to do it and prepare everybody for it. So we'll probably have like a Zoom fellowship gathering, and we'll do it here real soon, okay? God bless you guys. I love you all. I'll let you know on our social media when we get ready to do that, and I'll give you guys a heads up. So you can get your bread, you can get your wine, or whatever, your apple juice or your grape juice, whatever you guys are going to do. And then we'll do it together, okay? God bless. See you then.